Fortnite Season 4 is finally here, and it kicks off better than any season that came before it, packed with content and collabs. But there's a catch. Almost all of us were counting on 8 video game collaboration skins, and in the end, only Sonic made the cut. I've seen a lot of people saying fans just hyped themselves up and set their own expectations, so the disappointment is on them, but I don't buy that for a second. Epic was the one who got our hopes sky high in the first place. The daily teasers led off with Sonic, then came the guy from 99 Nights, and third in line was the Joker skin. Why on earth would you show that off if it's just going to end up as a regular item shop skin? From the day they dropped that video, you could easily be waiting a solid 2 weeks before you can actually buy it. That makes it the most spoiled shop skin teaser this game has ever pulled. But of course, they needed to build hype for the final event in the trailer, so there was no way they'd run that same teaser with the fighter girl, because at this point, the season would bleed a ton of its hype. Then there's another issue. The season key art, which is one more reason it feels totally natural to assume the pass would be loaded with crossovers. The original skins landing in the pass barely register in the shot. 3 of the 8 are shoved into the farthest corner of the picture. The camouflaged soldier tucked into the cartridge makes 0 sense at this point, and this poor girl has literally every other character stacked on top of her. All of that makes it crystal clear that Fortnite knows Sonic is going to move this pass all on his own, since he's the one sitting front and center looking sharp. The rest of the roster got tossed in for the sole purpose of hitting that magic number of 8, even if most of them end up on the island down the road, maybe even the leads of the whole storyline. Out of the gate though, they're pure filler, and that key art spells it out plain as day. Now I want to hit on something that lets me down even harder, as a Fortnite fan first and a fan of other games second, and that's Jonesy as a character. This is the protagonist of my favorite game, and he's been rocking the same dirty outfit for 3 years straight. I honestly don't care that he's getting a fresh fit halfway through the season, because it makes no sense that such a killer trailer stars a version locked behind a pass that dropped almost 3 years ago. And I won't lie to you, the fact that Jonesy isn't in the pass doesn't bug me at all, but for being the face of the whole game, they've got him a little beat up. That said, I get why he doesn't have a new variant, since maybe this whole thing was a dream, the way the trailer played it out, and he still hasn't snapped out of it. Even so, if he's dreaming, let him dream up a new outfit. And honestly, that's just one more reason for him to swap clothes, seeing as he wouldn't even have to pay for it. Anyway, with all that off my chest, let's dig into what the Override Battle Pass actually is, because once you set aside the sting of these not being crossovers, I've got to say, it strikes me as a really, really solid pass. Not every character wins me over, and a few even let me down inside the letdown. Kicking things off with the fighter girl herself, who honestly lands as one of the biggest home runs here, since each of these characters represents a popular genre, and in her case, it's fighting games. She's my favorite of the pass. She'll almost certainly come with super styles, along with secondary looks like a green fit or a blue one, but even sticking with just the red version, she's a fantastic skin, and you can even swap her over to the old pixelated look. In this trailer scene, they're probably also showing off her emote that you can pull off with a buddy, which I think is awesome. Like I said, I'm in love with this skin, my top pick of the pass, unless the styles on the others flip my opinion. Running through them from the ones I dig most to the ones I dig least, next up is the other girl with the more grounded adventure vibe. She actually reads to me like a mashup of Lara Croft and Marvel's Black Widow thanks to the outfit. I'm really into the design, and she looks slick wielding those dual rifles in the trailer. This is another one I figure will pack super styles and different color options, but same as before, a single variant already sells me on her as a great skin. Now we roll into the off-brand Nintendo section with the Mario Kart Racer, who isn't bad by any means, even though she doesn't grab me half as much as the first two. What really bums me out is that the cart is her emote instead of a new gameplay element, and I'll get more into that in a bit because I've got a few thoughts on the loot situation too. As for the carts, Fortnite had a golden chance this season to bring them in, and it turns out that isn't happening. Heading over to the Fortnite spin on Link, we've got the adventurer with the eye patch, who's my single biggest disappointment in the pass. It looks like he won't come with many styles. When my first reaction on seeing him, was that Epic would treat him like the classic build your own hero you customize at the start of a game, picking whether you're a guy or a girl, and tweaking stuff like clothing color and hair, throwing on accessories like that patch, which clashes with the rest of the getup anyway. In the end, it seems he's stuck with one look, maybe a style or two, that just swap the color and let you toss the hood up or down, but since he's occupying a crossover slot, like I said, I think they could have served up something more. On the flip side, we do get a wildly customizable skin, and that's the Block 1 that basically looks like the Tetris skin, since they themselves hinted we'd be getting it, while at the same time this Tetris character design has nothing going on. The upside is, it'll pack a ton of variants, along the lines of Drift, Jonesy, or Lynx. That said, the skin carries one glaring downside, because with a noggin that size, it looks like an absolute nightmare to play with, though we'll see how they tweak the camera so it isn't a total mess. I'll wrap the skins with the Tactical Soldier, who on top of the black outfit will get other, more colorful variants, and my hope is that on top of all that we can pop the helmet off. Either way, I don't see myself running this character all that often, but at the very least, seeing as he stands in for Call of Duty style shooters and also fills a crossover slot inside the pass, I hope they put their best foot forward with this one. And now for the real main course, which also happens to be the reason just about everybody's going to snag the pass, and those are Sonic and Geno. Starting with the latter, I'm thrilled he's here, finally landing a skin of his own, and it looks absolutely nasty in the best way. Beyond that, I'm hoping his arc finally wraps at the end of Chapter 7, so Fortnite can genuinely kick off a fresh storyline with new faces in Chapter 8. Something a little easier for new fans to follow, because the lore right now is so riddled with holes and so much nonsense that stitching it all together is a headache, which is exactly why I think it needs a hard reset, and fingers crossed this character hands us a final event and turns out to be the big villain he appears to be. As for the playable skin, I like the design. The helmet style gets a stamp of approval too, and sure, he'll have super styles and all that, but I don't think this character even needs them, since this variant alone is already a straight-up win. Last but not least, we've got Sonic, or more accurately, Sonic's robot, which was the clever workaround for slotting the character into the game without stretching his arms and legs out like Taffy. On the skin styles, I'm not expecting a whole lot more, though he could theoretically get something like Super Sonic, which would be wild, but I doubt they include it since it isn't Sonic himself, just a robot version. So all told, I personally love a solid half of this pass. The two girls alongside Sonic and Geno are my reason to buy it without a second thought, and the other four I've got faith. One of them surprises me for the better with the styles and whatnot, though I'll admit they're starting from a baseline where I really couldn't care less, aside from this one, which the more I look at it, the more it grabs my attention. Even so, I feel for everyone who's really bummed about not getting a full crossover pass. I'm right there with them, since I'd obviously take Mega Man over Link with the patch any day, but at the bare minimum, the characters are still making it into Fortnite and bringing their items along, which is the last thing I wanted to touch on, because I'd take having other games' mechanics in Fortnite over having their skin in the pass 1,000 times over. And on that front, Fortnite absolutely delivered. We've got a quarter of the island decked out in Sonic design. There are also his sneakers that hand us a speed boost, along with all of his sprites. From Mega Man we get his cannon. From Tetris there's the barrier that patches up your health. From Cyberpunk we've got a pair of dual rifles. Like I keep saying, the pass let a lot of folks down, but the season looks so impressive that they might just get us to warm up to this battle pass after all. Drop a comment and let me know what you think, and we'll continue with the full season breakdown right here. Because what really matters here is when they slot in the override cartridge, the same one that spawned during Finale event, since that's the exact point where things start getting weird inside the game, like this downpour of Tetris blocks. And by the way, these cartridges are going to matter a ton in gameplay too, because they're tied to a hacking system I'll get into further along. Right here, Jonesy also stumbles onto the 1-up coin, which I'm betting will be a playable item that boosts your health and maybe even your speed and strength. Think of it as a modern spin on the old medallions, and I'm pretty confident about that thanks to the end of the trailer, where Geno grabs one and his health shoots up. That's exactly why Jonesy dives head first for it, but a Tetris block ends up knocking him toward the island, and we watch the characters leap out, which gives me the feeling this might be the new battle bus in a way. Or more like whatever ends up replacing the bus entirely, since like I said, this whole area could be the spawn island where we hang before a match, meaning we drop straight from this spot. Still just a theory though, because it might only exist for the cinematic and have nothing to do with actual gameplay. Circling back to these scenes, there's a lot to unpack on the skin front, because we're getting our first look at the ones native to Fortnite, most likely the Battle Pass lineup. There's the customizable skin, which I'm guessing is the Tetris one, though it doesn't really scream Tetris to me. And if that's not it, then it's basically channeling those classic party game vibes, or maybe even a nod to Minecraft skins. Running through the rest of the past characters, you'll notice every single one represents a super popular video game genre. It starts with Fortnite's take on Link, your typical fantasy adventure hero straight out of something like Zelda. Then there's another adventurer type, this one more of a Lara Croft situation, the girl decked out in green and black. For the shooter genre, we've got the guy Call of Duty or something. Playing the fighting game role, we've got the girl in the red. And repping racing, we've got that guy who, just like Fortnite's Link, is basically the Super Mario Kart of the roster. On top of the past skins, we're getting collabs like Crash, who really does have a kinda goofy face just like the leaked design showed. Spyro sits right next to him, and will probably drop as a sidekick in the shop. The final collab is hidden, and it's the cyberpunk protagonist you can spot on one of the cartridge screens. Without technically being a skin, there's also the Bush sprite, now sporting a blocky cube look that all the second generation ones share. Personally, I'm way less into these than the first gen, and this is just one of many that pop up, so I'll throw up the full list of every sprite shown a little later. Once they reveal the island, we spot Sonic, who's actually a robot. Luckily, this version is still making it into the Battle Pass. He's the only collab confirmed for it so far, aside from that possible Tetris one that, like I keep saying, might not even count. Sonic has another key detail in the trailer, and it's his shoes, since they'll work with any skin. His Fortnite footwear is different from what he's rocking here, so these sneakers can probably be unlocked in the past too. On top of that, we see the Sonic-style running ability, which might even turn us into a blue ball, just like the Hedgehog. I think that's an item, because a lot of people might assume it's the power the sprite grants, but Sonic isn't carrying it in his backpack, so the sprite could give us speed too, just way more nerfed than the blue ball. We also get a look at how the rings work, where you race through them to build speed and grab the actual rings, though nobody's cracked what those are for yet. The last skins in the scene are Shadow and Eggman, and they honestly look incredible. On the island, you can catch clouds shaped like flames, or Pac-Man ghosts. There are also these blue and purple cubes that might hand us some ability, or just be glitches, and we probably won't know until we're in the game. In the following scene, we see Joker using the Tails sprite, and its ability comes through crystal clear, which is flying. That same shot also confirms the gun he's reloading. By the way, while editing, I just noticed Jonesy transforms into the blue hedgehog when he's got the shoes on, so this isn't a cosmetic, it's the actual object, which like I said is separate from the Sonic sprite. When it comes to the island, they hand us the best possible view, since you can make out every new zone and even which ones they're replacing. Starting with the biggest and most interesting, the Sonic area, dropped right where Canyon used to be. Then, where we had that creepy avenue owned by Dark Voyager, now we're getting this shadowy spot with a biome of red trees and grass. That one's almost a lock to be Geno's zone, seeing as he's the leader of the character I just brought up. As for the 0 point, we now see it locked inside a device that's probably also Geno's, and tied to his location. Actually, looking at the guy's outfit, I've got a strong hunch he's going to hook himself up to it to drain the 0 point energy and turn himself into the 0 point. We'll most likely see that in the finale event, or at least watch him take a swing at it during the season storyline. Without jumping too far ahead, we've also got to talk about his location in more detail, since it's shaped like a computer, both from the color and those fans. And I'm telling you, this probably ties into the story, but just like the Jonesy intro, I'm saving it for the end of this gameplay breakdown we're watching. Sticking with the zones, we spot this new Pac-Man themed area taking over the soccer field. And finally, the finale event location, where the collider got completely torn down. We also see these cartridges I mentioned earlier getting plugged in, which in gameplay dish out anomalies, and in theory players place them by typing in codes. That's exactly why the season's keyword is hackers. I'll dig into these codes in the season recap once things kick off, since right now they don't really do anything for us without being able to play with them and punch them in. What I can tease is what each one seems to do based on leaks and just plain logic. Starting with the Sonic one, which gives us this unlimited mine plus a speed boost, probably really close to the character's own sprite. Then there's the Crash cartridge, making spike hits lethal in a single blow, which the trailer shows off perfectly. And the last one visible in the trailer is the Cyberpunk one, doing something involving ammo boxes. Beyond those three, we'll get a ton more cartridges tied to the Battle Pass skins, which is why each one carries its own video game theme, plus others for the collabs like Sonic or Cyberpunk. And I almost skipped the coin one, which honestly I don't fully get, but it might grant a medallion to every player or something along those lines. Continuing with the gameplay, we see what's probably the fighter skins emote, rocking that same pixelated retro game style, and right after that the power of the Crash cartridge I brought up before. And then Jonesy pulls out the Mega Man cannon, which the skin itself carries. On top of that beefy cannon, we see the 2 dashes we can trigger to build speed by dropping to the ground. There's also the Tetris object that works as a barrier, but when the pieces complete lines, they clear out, just like in the actual game. On top of that, it hands health to whoever used it, or whoever's closest. In the following scene with the Fortnite Lara Croft, we see the Kill Switch backpack, a skin from last year that had the same power as its sprite, which is slowing down time when you jump and shoot. We also catch her packing 2 guns, one in each hand, both collabs with Cyberpunk that fire rifle rounds. Moving along, we've got another pass skin, the Soldier, using the player shotgun, and landing hits makes points and a combo counter of downed rivals pop up. Since this weapon loads game cartridges, it could have different functions depending on which game we plug in, though that's a theory, because in the trailer, he only uses this orange one that references Dark Voyager. Another super hidden detail in the scene is that this PC-shaped Genozone also has the Eggman logo on it, since these 2 villains team up, something confirmed in the Sonic comics. If you want full breakdown of this one, drop a comment. Hanging around this location, Mortal Kombat characters show up who might get a fresh wave. Plus we've got the Rabbit sprite that references an old Epic Games title, Jazz Jackrabbit. As we see later, this one comes with a double jump ability. Last in the gameplay, we watch them load the 1-up cartridge to cut back to the story scene, where Jonesy falls, holds the medallion, and gets surrounded by the season's villains. It starts with the deer from the Roblox game 99 Nights in the Forest, which could even be the first skin dropping for the Fortnite mares, though there's still plenty of runway before we get into that. In this same shot, we see it's joined by a new version of Hush, along with other soldiers that are actually old skins from the ballistic mode. Eggman's right there beside them, and I'm obsessed with how he looks in Fortnite. Working around the circle, we've got this robot, which I think is a new skin, but I've got no clue if it's a collab or a Fortnite original, or even an older one, since we only see it from behind, and no character with that silhouette rings a bell for me. And finally, the main big bad Geno appears, who thankfully looks like he'll be in the Battle Pass and comes rocking this incredible outfit. Now we watch him steal the coin, boost his health, and take out Jonesy again. Or does he? Since it looks like the entire thing was a dream. Now let's wrap up by explaining what's actually going down here, why we've got this video game season, and why the game morphed in such a bizarre way. The explanation might honestly be pretty simple, since the 0 point plays with reality, and now Geno has snatched it. Like they say in the finale event, he took off with the 0 point, so the way I see it, he now controls the game to a degree and has flipped the loop and the whole Fortnite experience into a literal video game. That's why Jonesy can now see, and roam the zones that exist before you drop into a match on the island. And that's where all the Fortnite characters and collabs coexist. The strange part hits at the end, since Jonesy wakes up, and it turns out it was all just a nightmare, which cranks up the complexity of the whole thing big time. After the live event, the island is already pretty shaken up, but we've still got a few days until the new season when everything could flip.